Turn this on. Prior to the open session, council met for a brief closed session, and it was moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Borneman, that pursuant to Section 239(2) and 3 of the Municipal Act, SO 2001 C25 is amended, Council of the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound moved to a meeting closed to the public in order to address matters pertaining to D, labor relations or employee negotiations, update on union grievances, J, educating or training council members, and no member shall discuss or deal with any matter in any way that materially advances the business of council.
That shouldn't be there.
Oh, okay. And K, information explicitly supplied in confidence to the municipality or local board by Canada, a province or a territory or crown agency of any of them, infrastructure funding, and that was carried. Yeah. Okay. Right. Yeah. We have additions to the agenda or prioritization. Councillor McCann.
I had an addition.
Yep.
It's with regards to the, would be 922 with the beneficiary of potential snowbirds air show surplus funds.
That'll be item 922.
922, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Are there any further additions or prioritization? Seeing none, may I have a mover and seconder for the agenda, please? Councillor Saulnier, Councillor McCann. The council agenda for March 6, 2018 be approved as amended. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Any disclosure of pecuniary interest? Councillor Keith?
Yes, I would like to disclose both for item 9.2.1 and for item 9.1.1. I have a pecuniary interest as I am chair of the Parry Sound Planning Board.
Okay. Councillor Horn?
Thank you. I have 3 to declare, 9.11. 9.21 in terms of the Parry Sound Area Planning Board as I receive remuneration from that agency. Also, the item that was added to the agenda tonight, 9.22, and the donation to the West Parry Sound Health Center as part of access funds from the Snowbird, as my wife is the Chief Financial Officer for the hospital. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Keith?
Just for clarification, both of those area items that I advised of pecuniary interest, I also receive remuneration.
Okay. I have one with item 951, and it's due to my wife being executive director for the Festival of the Sound, and in this particular item, I do not put a amount in the item for the Festival of the Sound, but do have discussion on the rest of them in there. Okay, that takes care of everybody. Now, we're going to adjourn this meeting. So, ladies and gentlemen, we're now going to take a few minutes to hold a public meeting to hear any interested persons with regard to 2 proposed zoning bylaw amendments under Section 34 of the Planning Act. May I have a mover and seconder to adjourn the meeting? Councillor McCann, Councillor Borneman, that we now adjourn the regular meeting and declare the public meeting open. All in favor? That's carried. Ms. Boggs, could you explain how the public was notified of the first proposed zoning bylaw amendment being Z/18/01-60 and 60A Seguin Street, Themer?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Notice was given by prepaid first-class mail to the required prescribed agencies and property owners within 120 meters. It was posted on the property and was placed on the town website.
Okay. Mr. Elgie, can you explain the purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment?
Thank you. The application will provide relief from the residential second density zone, the R2 zone, to fulfill a condition of consent. The lots were provisionally created by the Parry Sound Area Planning Board. Reduced frontage, access, parking, and yard requirements are requested as a result of the severance. The properties are known as 1660A Seguin Street, more specifically part of Reserve and part of Lot 1 on Plan 86, part of Wabi Street on Plan 2, or Part 1 on 42R 16527.
Okay, thank you. So, does anyone wish to speak in favor of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? If so, please come forward, give your name and address.
Yeah, George Ryder, and I'm here on behalf of the trustees of the Presbyterian Church. And I have, here we are. Yeah, and if you sit down.
You can sit down, yes.
And we have two other trustees.
Oh, you just, Mr. Ryder, you just turned it off. You turned the microphone off.
I did?
Yeah, so press the, okay.
Oh, I did.
Oh, you must have caught the side button, Councilor Marshall.
There you go.
Okay.
Thank you. The trustees have met regarding the possibilities of this additional parking which would occur if this house is initiated and underway. So we had looked at this as well, I think about 2004, and it was suggested that it possibly might be better for minor variances for that particular lot to eliminate the minor variances and assume the ownership of part of the road allowance that runs up alongside of them. And that was worked out, I think, on a plan that represented the additional area that would be provided so that they wouldn't have anything to be concerned about frontage on a street. And you could have, I'm sure you must have one in your file. That may be of direction for you. But that's basically what we're concerned about, is that we would be interested in splitting the road allowance. Half goes to the town, or at least to the developer of the land next door, and the other half would go to the Presbyterian Church. As well as another little section at the back, which I believe would be attached to the old Kitchener Hotel. Which would probably complete the length of that street to the railway. So if there's any questions that you would have of the trustees, I would be happy to answer them.
Well, this particular meeting is really to hear from the public. So we hear from the public at this present time on how they feel about the matter, and then when it's brought forward to council to actually discuss, then all of those questions would be asked, and hopefully we'd have answers for those questions.
Sure.
So right now, like I say, it's really the public's turn to, and that's the same for both matters that we have for this public meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
So but I will say, if Mr. LG doesn't have the information that you have, it'd be worthwhile providing him with a copy, or we could make copies of it.
Okay, I can do that.
That would be wonderful.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I guess yes, if they can have their half. Yeah. Okay, is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor? Seeing none, is there anyone that wishes to speak in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? Okay, pretty quiet. Thank you. Mr. Algie, have there been any letters received as a result of this notice?
Through your worship, no, there have not.
Okay, all right. So thank you. That concludes the first zoning bylaw amendment. Ms. Boggs, can you explain how the public was notified of the second proposed zoning bylaw amendment being Z/1802 128 Gibson Street, Corkins?
Yes,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, notice was provided by prepaid first-class mail to the required prescribed agencies and property owners within 120 meters, posted on the property, and was placed on the town website.
Mr. Algie, can you explain the purpose of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment?
The applicant has requested relief from the R2 zone to permit a dwelling unit above a proposed detached garage. The property is known as 128 Gibson Street, or Lot 7 and part of Lot 8 on the west side of Gibson Street on Plan 62.
Okay. So at this time, does anyone wish to speak in favor of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? If so, come forward to the microphones. Please give us your name and address. Nope. Okay. Does anyone wish to speak in opposition to the proposed zoning bylaw amendment? Nope. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Algie. Have there been any letters received as a result of the notice?
No, there is not.
Okay, thank you. So this concludes the second zoning bylaw amendment. Council, at its discretion, may approve either of the proposed zoning bylaw amendments. If so, it must either circulate notices of passing of the bylaws or give notice in the local press. Objections to the passing of either bylaws will be received by the clerk within 20 days after the date such notice is given, which objections will be forwarded to the local planning appeal tribunal. If an appeal is submitted and the appellant has not provided council with an oral or written submission before the passing of the bylaw, the local planning appeal tribunal may choose to dismiss the appeal. Thank you, everyone. May I have a mover and seconder to declare the public meeting closed? Councillor Saunier, Councillor Marshall. We do now declare the public meeting closed. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay, we're doing that. May I have a mover and seconder for the minutes, please? Councillor McCann, Councillor Horn. The minutes of the regular council meeting held February 20th, 2018 be approved as circulated. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, all in favor? That's carried. Questions of staff? Councillor Saunier.
It's for Mr. Brown. Mr. Brown, I wanted to have I'm getting a lot of discussion out in the public about the heave that's happening in the asphalt and around the manholes. And my understanding is that when it's temperature appropriate, our crews go out and they tamp down layers of asphalt around the manhole, making it nice and level. However, it does seem that it happens every single year. So my question to you is there anything that we could do, either with with how we are currently observing? How we're currently doing it. I want to understand if there's anything that we could do with the way we're building Emily Street or Wabick Street that is going to help with the heave around the manhole so we don't have to tamp them down every spring, or is this just going to be an ongoing thing due to the fact that we live in Parry Sound and water melts, it freezes, it expands and heaves?
Mr. Brown.
Through your worship, this is an inherent problem everywhere, in every part of the province and every part of Canada for that matter. Whenever we get freeze-thaw cycles like this, you will get asphalt basically blowing apart or splitting, whether it's diagonal splits, lateral splits down the road, around manholes, usually we're saying, around catch basins, around valves. It's just an ongoing problem with the type of weather that we're having. There's really nothing that we can do short of just being on top of it, which we're doing on a daily basis. We're out at night. We have a pothole repair system We're going out there all the time as much as we can. We have a crew doing it constantly to fill in these potholes. Without these, if we didn't have these freeze-thaw cycles, then we wouldn't be having this conversation. But every time it rains and every time the water gets underneath the asphalt, in around the manholes, it just blows the asphalt apart. So is there something different we can do about it? With the new road construction, the asphalt is sealed up against things like manholes, up against things like catch basins. So the water sheets across. As time goes on, the asphalt splits apart or starts to come away from those structures. There's nothing we can do short of, as I say, except for keeping on top of it with the repair system. We can drop material down in the cracks to keep them sealed. That's all we can do. We just pray for better weather. I think that's the best thing.
Thank you.
Any further questions, staff? Councillor Keith?
I guess it goes back to Mr. Brown, and that is, I had occasion to be in a much larger city more recently, and I'm not doubting what Mr. Brown is saying about the issues regarding the potholes, the manholes. This all has to do with the weather. It's very common, and frankly, I think that the town of Parry Sound, we're doing a better job than some of the larger cities on trying to be on top of this. But what I am wondering about, is there any way there could be any sort of maybe educating the public so they're better aware of that? Because sometimes I think if people had the education in this area, they would be more accepting of it. Is there anything that you could suggest? I don't know, putting it on the website or anything that could be helpful to people so that they know that we're really doing a good job?
Through your worship, there's different ways that we can get the message out through the local media, the newspapers, the radio stations, on the website. It's a repetitive effort. We do this every year. We talk about it every year, and people still like to remind us how many potholes there are out there. So we do our best to get the message out, but sometimes I don't think it really matters. It makes much difference. It happens. It happens every time, this time every year. But we can put something on the website. We can put something in our Sound Opportunity newsletter, that kind of thing. I'm not sure what else we can do.
I was just gonna say, to further on that particular topic, I was listening to one of the Barrie radio stations on the weekend while I was driving, and that's all they were talking about in the Barrie area were potholes, and that was it. I mean, it was right through that whole area. It's just, they were even singing songs about it. So, like, anyway, Councillor Marshall.
Another question for Mr. Brown. Last Monday, the municipality got a letter from the Ontario Tire Stewardship talking about their winding up their used tire program at the end of the year. Oh joy. How is this going to affect the public? What are we going to do with used tires after December 31st, 2018?
Through your worship, this is a very good question. We knew this was coming because of all the problems that OTS has encountered and the fact that the MOECC is basically shutting them down by the end of this year. So I'm going to be bringing a report to council recommending that we do not accept any more tires at the transfer station by, say, the middle of June, maybe sometime this summer, because we do not want to be stuck with all these tires and we cannot do anything with them. Right now, for the past couple of years, we've been shipping them away. There's been a company coming in and picking up the tires, and we get a refund for these tires. As of the end of this year, that's not going to happen anymore. Will the MOECC do something different in 2019 or 2020? It's entirely possible. But I don't want to be caught. I don't want the municipality to be caught with a pile of tires and nowhere to put them. So I'm strongly recommending that we stop taking used tires before the end of this year. So I will be bringing a report to council making that recommendation that we just stop that completely. It's been a successful program. I think we have probably 500-600 tires up there right now that we're going to be shipping out. The only problem we've had is actually getting a shipping company to come in and take them away. There's been a glut in used tires, and now we can't, now they're having trouble getting rid of them. So we don't want to be caught with a pile of tires. So I will be recommending to council that this stop this year. In the meantime, we'll do our best to get rid of them.
Can I make a suggestion that when you bring that suggestion forward in that report, that we also have a resolution that we send to Phenom, Roma, AMO, OSM, all of those organizations, recommending that they advocate for the recollection of the tires, because you know where those tires are going to end up. They're going to end up in ditches. They're going to end up in the bush somewhere or wherever, and people are just going to dump them, and they're going to get scattered all over the place. So I think to be proactive about this too, that we should bring something forward so that we're putting it out there that there really needs to be something done, and we send it to the province of Ontario as well. Yeah, Mr. Brown.
Further to that, Your Worship, I think it's somewhat ironic and odd that the province is still collecting the environmental tax every time you buy a new tire.
I know, that's right.
And
Yep.
are they going to stop doing that? Highly unlikely.
Highly unlikely.
So, if you have to, you
Yep.
can't have one without the other, unfortunately. But so I'm really hoping that the MOECC will have something new and innovative in 2019 and beyond. And if they do, then we can continue to receive tires.
Yeah, if we can collectively, between staff or whatever, put something together that really spells out the circumstances and the fact that the province is collecting that money, that we have something to go along with just the one action. Okay, that's good. Councillor McCann.
Thank you. Just continuing on with the tires, you hear things online, you read things online about the ongoing recycling efforts and what rubber can be used in building new highways and such. What about the private sector? Is there any opportunity there that we could appeal to the private sector to come and pick up the rubber tires and they take them away and do what they do with them?
Mr. Brown.
Through your worship, the private sector brings the tires to us. So they don't know what to do with them. They have nowhere to take them, so they bring them to us. So it's a no-win situation for them either. They just stockpile it in the backyard, and hopefully people forget about it, or they find eventually somebody who will come and take them away. But because of this program, it's been highly successful. There's just no place else to put them.
Thanks.
Any further questions of staff? No? Correspondence, Ms. Boggs.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. The first piece of correspondence is from Rebecca Pollock. She's the chair of the Parry Sound Area Active Transportation, and she wanted to express their group's appreciation for the town's snow removal efforts. That was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to the Director of Public Works for follow-up. Pardon me. Second one is from Mike Rivard, Acting Correspondence Manager from the Minister of Natural Resources, Jim Carr's office. It's a letter thanking Parry Sound for our correspondence regarding invasive species in the Great Lakes. The town's letter has been forwarded to the Office of the Minister of Fisheries, Oceans and the Canadian Coast Guard and the Office of the Minister of the Environment and Climate Change. That was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to myself for follow-up, any follow-up. Two pieces of the AMO Watch file, February 15th and February 22nd, which is municipal industry news, circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to myself for inclusion in the e-agenda. And then a note from FONOM, Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities, their submission to the Ministry of Natural Resources regarding EBR number 0131669, Amendments of Ontario Regulation 242/08, General Regulation Endangered Species Act 2007, relating to forest operations in managed crown forests, incorporating species recently listed to the species at risk in Ontario, and Safe Harbor. So that was just forwarding their submission regarding that. And that was circulated to Mayor and Council and forwarded to myself for follow-up. And that's it, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Deputations. Are there any deputations tonight? Okay. All right. Well, councillors' reports. So we'll start with Councillor Saunier tonight.
Good evening, everyone, those in attendance, those watching on television. I'll start with, we were just at Good Roads down in Toronto for a 3-day conference. It was, the attendance was a little bit lower as Good Roads and Ogra decided to go their separate ways, and which is absolutely unfortunate. However, they still had some phenomenal speakers. I'll cherry pick my top 3, and easily my first was Miss Khan. Miss Khan is from New York. And what her job was is to create pedestrian spaces, bike lanes. She was part of the team that helped make, what's that park called, Jim? I'm trying to think of it. Anyways, it's not coming to me. They were part of the team that started shutting down roads. They were part of the team that used analytical data to show that people are moving as pedestrians and on bikes, as well as you can in vehicles. And the thing that really struck me was that we're still building roads that are built off of 60-year-old models, and the world has changed since then, and the way we get around has changed since then. And simple things like creating bike lanes by parking away from the curb a meter. So instead of having to erect concrete barriers, they use the parked cars as a way to create a barrier between the cyclist and the oncoming traffic. And I saw this firsthand. I was just down in Hamilton for my daughter's basketball tournament, and what's all this crazy painting on the road? And then all of a sudden there's all these parked cars. And so that was a 4-lane road that's brought down to a 2-lane road, but that the bike and pedestrian traffic was absolutely outstanding. So people are moving and using the stuff. So it was really good. And she also talked about how shopkeepers were first really weary of this, but as it turns out, people congregate in open spaces, and their sales went up between 16 and 24% over a 3-year period, which is phenomenal for growth in the area. So we took that, and I think there's 3 of us that went to the follow-up version of this, and this is where my main takeaway is it comes down to leadership. Because when we got into that room for the visioning session on open streets and whatnot, I couldn't have been let down further. It was absolutely horrible. It was what you would call your pie in the sky. If I had $1 million, here's what I do, but I don't know how to do it. Each subsequent speaker was proceedingly worse, and I just couldn't wait to get out of the room. So what I take away from that is us around tables, if we have a really good idea, you're going to have to bring some pizzazz and some salesmanship to it and see that idea through to fruition with data and results, because they lost me instantly when they put me in that room full of people. The other key takeaway that I really liked was there's a new housing tool that went on to describe the shortage of housing in Ontario. They can cover all of Canada, but they specifically focused on Ontario. And what I found really interesting is that they said that there is a shortage of 400,000 rooms in Ontario. And because of houses not unlike mine, and soon once my kids leave, we will have 1.2 to 1.8 million bedrooms available. And there's no conduit to match up people with those bedrooms, people in need. So it was a really neat presentation by this gentleman who fought through the predicament that he was in. None of the equipment was working. His presentation kept failing. And he was so engaging, again, leadership, that he kept us through this entire thing. And the forces that cause housing shortages and what, be it political or environmental or personal, it was really intriguing. And finally, I wanted to talk about this is the 2nd year row I'm going to bring it up. I don't know if the camera can get that, but the finals for the nuclear storage facility, 3 of them are still north of Parry Sound. So Ignace, which is terrifying, that's where I grew up. I really don't want nuclear waste stored there. Manitouwadge and Hornpain. So if and when they made the final cut, if and when that happens, that nuclear waste is going to be coming through on either rail or highway. That means through Parry Sound. So we're going to have to stay on top of this. This is something that's not going to go away. I had a great discussion with him. He was willing to come up, and as part of their outreach program in September, he's willing to come up and give a deputation to council on what their plans are and how this is going to go forward. But this is something that we're going to want to control. And it might be an opportunity for jobs as a check station, because we are a pinch for the rail and the road. Maybe we can get nuclear technicians housed here and have jobs for the transportation of this waste if it's going to go through. And finally, I was at my daughter's skating just before council. I just wanted to say to the people that constantly put their lives on hold or their jobs on hold to help. There's everything from kids that were the size of just 2 feet tall and they were more helmet than they were a kid to potential Olympic athletes skating there. And just a wonderful job that the members of the community put forward. So the Parry Sound Skating Club, wonderful performance. I was thoroughly entertained. The kids were great. Thank you. Have a great night.
Thank you. Councillor Horn.
Thank you. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. On February 22nd, I attended the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame meeting. And to bring everybody up to speed, the nomination forms are out for celebrating youth in the West Parry Sound area. So if youth are involved in sport, recreation, leisure, or any other arts and cultural events, the nomination forms are out. They are due on May 4th, 2018, and of course the award ceremony is on Saturday, June 23rd. A new addition this year is teams to be nominated this year. So please check out the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame website. Nomination forms are there. Spread the word. Posters are going up around town. Please visit the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame if you need more information and talk to the staff down at the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame and Stocky Center. And just a final note with the ice conditions, I know there's a lot of ice fishermen still going out, and trout season is open until March 31st. Please be aware of the ice conditions and be safe out there. Next week is March break, so everyone have a safe holiday. Thank you. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Keith.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, fellow councillors, staff, and the public, I only attended one meeting in the last 2 weeks, and that will be further mentioned under item 9.1.1 tonight in the agenda. But that was a meeting involving town reps, also reps from other municipalities, including CEOs, and also the planning board secretary, treasurer, myself as chair, and reps from municipal affairs, and it involved the discussion regarding the town of Parry Sound looking at leaving the Parry Sound area planning board. It seemed to be a meeting that I felt went on for roughly 2 hours. There was some great discussion. It seemed that the municipal affairs reps were making suggestions on the town looking at other alternatives and perhaps development of a regional plan. I really can't say any more. I felt that my role there that day was to listen to what was being presented, and that's all I can present tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Marshall.
Yeah, good evening, everybody. I, along with Councillor Saunier, Councillor Boardman, and Mr. Brown, attended the OGRA conference in Toronto last week. There's not much else I can say that Councillor Saunier said about Ms. Sadiq Khan. It was interesting going to that. She was by far the best speaker. I had just been in New York a week before, and I noticed a lot of the improvements that they did in the city. We walked about 40 kilometers over 3 days, and so we saw the bike lanes, we saw how the parking worked. It's too bad that I hadn't gone after this meeting, because I certainly have had a closer look. Interesting, in New York, the quickest way to get around the city is by bike. It's quicker to bike through New York than it is to drive. And we came into New York City. We came into LaGuardia Airport. It took about 1 hour and 20 minutes to get Midtown. And that's about 25 kilometers. Traffic doesn't move at all. You talk to people in New York, what was it like before all the bike lanes came in? They said it was the same. So where it's affected the traffic in New York, the traffic moves about the same speed, vehicular traffic. It's the bikes and the pedestrians that move a heck of a lot faster. And you get into the middle of Times Square where there's basically no cars, it's full of people. You're exactly right. You give people public spaces, they will congregate, and not only that, but the businesses will come. It was a great experience. If you've never been to New York, Check it out, it's an amazing city. So interesting having just been there and having her speak. A couple other things, some of the breakout sessions at the OGRA conference were interesting as well. Went to one about autonomous vehicles that are being quickly rolled out into Ontario and how they're going to affect municipalities across the country. And another one rolling out, no pun intended, illegal marijuana later this year. It's coming in the middle of the year, and how we're going to deal with it as a municipality. A lot of good questions that people pose, and they basically said we're kind of making this up as we go along. So it's going to be a really interesting year. One public service announcement, the museum is having a new exhibit starting on Friday night. It's called Listen to the Nights, Bats in Ontario. So it's a bat exhibit, and it'll be from 7 to 8 p.m. It's on loan from the Royal Ontario Museum, and it focuses on the vital roles that bats play in maintaining our ecosystem, as well as issues of conservation and threats that are contributing to the decline of bats in Ontario. So if you're not doing anything on Friday night, come out 7 to 8 o'clock. Snacks and refreshments will be available, and so will the bats. So come on out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Borneman.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, everyone. As Councillor Marshall and Saulnier reported, we did attend Good Roads. In addition to all of those good speakers, there are plenty of products for folks like Mr. Brown to view and review. Lots of nice seminars about minimum maintenance standards that I'm sure enthralled him. And in addition, there's always politics at those meetings. We were able to hear from from the leaders of the various political parties through the session. March 1st, I attended a meeting at the DBA to review proposals to revamp the website. The board decided to, in the interim, do some upgrades to the current website because of financial pressures, and because it was thought that it would be more appropriate to complete an entire overhaul following the adoption of the strat plan work that is currently underway. March 5th, I attended the second meeting of our Snowbirds ad hoc group. I want to thank a number of staff people who are doing lots of work behind the scenes with safety and security plans with fire departments from Carling, Seguin and Parry Sound, EMS, OPP and the Coast Guard. Work continues on other arrangements, including allowing media and public access to the team upon their arrival. We did make a recommendation with respect to excess funds that is on this evening's agenda for consideration. Earlier today, I attended a meeting at the airport. It's pretty much business as usual this time of year. We did adopt a budget which again sees no increase in the municipal levy. The Commission has held the line in that respect for several years. Included in that budget are a number of capital items, including replacements of air conditioning in the business center, some paving around the fuel farm that was installed late last fall, and probably most importantly, some cutting and repaving of the worst sections of the runway, which will hopefully extend its useful life for a number of years. Finally, I want to offer my congratulations to John Wright. John's been employed at Public Works since January of 1985 as an operator, and this is his last week on the job on night shift, so hopefully it doesn't snow too much this evening or through the rest of the week. I just want to say Johnny's always been a really giving soul. He has a smile on his face and a good hard worker, and I'm sure that his experience and presence up there will be missed in the days coming forward. So have a good retirement, John. Stay safe and healthy.
Okay, thank you. Councillor McCann.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, Council and staff and those watching. Rather short report here this time around. On Wednesday, the 28th of February, I attended the Belvedere Heights Monthly Board of Management meeting. Pretty well regular business. A couple of things coming away from that, and I think people of Ontario will be pleased to know that there is that the province is going to launch a PSW registry in light of some of the bad news we've heard recently about abuse in homes and such. It will be a registry that will provide information to employers and to healthcare providers on PSWs, such as their education, training credentials, and adherence to code of conduct. And they suspect that this PSW registry will be ready to go by December of 2019. So that's going to help homes like Belvedere when we go recruiting and looking for PSWs. We did come in with a levy to the townships. The notice of levy was 1.5. Our whole increase was only by $22,000 from 2017. And so when you look at the proportionate rating, Parry Sound gets 1.46%, or a total of $138,858. Canadian Snowbirds, as Councillor Borneman has mentioned, we had a meeting yesterday here in Chambers, and just adding to what Councillor Borneman has suggested, and it was something I was just saying to Mr. Menz just before the meeting here this evening, sitting at the table and watching everybody work out the logistics of the whole event. There's a lot of planning that goes around, and everybody has their own thing that they do. And it's kind of like sort of like a magic that comes together when it's all said and done. We're really trying to take advantage of the Snowbirds' presence here, and we're trying to organize as much as we possibly can. The Snowbirds themselves are looking forward to coming, and I think we'll get a big bang for our buck. Certainly, the sponsorship is there, and again, if you haven't heard, it is going to be on Wednesday, June the 13th. At approximately between 5 and 6 p.m. Over Georgian Bay at right here in Parry Sound. Also, back to Belvedere again, I was there today for an HR meeting, and that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Council, staff, and public, February 22nd, I attended the AMO executive meeting in Toronto. On February 23rd and 24th was the 2-4 curling bonspiel at the Curling Club here in Parry Sound. And I really have to thank Ray Pavlov and Tom Traversy for their dedication in this and moving this forward and actually going to other places to promote this bonspiel, which raises money for veterans and their families. This 2-4 curling is going right across Canada, which is really good and raising a lot of money. In the basically the evening and the day event on the 24th, they raised over $12,000 for veterans and their families here at the Curling Club. So a big thank you to the sponsors, families, and all the curlers and everyone that participated in the event. Very successful, and it was nice to have some of the soldiers down from North Bay and from Base Borden too that were there. Some of them participated in the bonspiel, which was really good. In fact, there was one team from North Bay that was very good. February 26th was the nonprofit housing meeting. February 27th, I attended a conference call meeting with the Ministry of Housing staff, AMO staff, and the AMO's Housing Task Force to review some new policy that the province is looking at bringing forward. February 28th, I attended a meeting with the Ministry of Education in the Ministry of Education offices at 900 Bay Street in Toronto. The meeting was to discuss the revised ARC process and better planning communication between school boards and municipalities. It was at times some very lively discussion, very well attended, and a cross-section of people from School Boards Association, school boards, from French public school, French Catholic, and regular public school. So They were all represented there, along with People's First, People for Education, and other interested people in education in Ontario. March 1st, I attended the NAMO executive meeting and MOU meeting at Queen's Park. And March 2nd, I attended the Festival and Events Gala Dinner in Hamilton. And this is the third year in a row that the Festival of the Sound has been recognized in the top 100 festivals and events in Ontario. And that's my report. Thank you. Okay, on with the agenda. Oh, yes. Item 7.1, it's the new part. I have to give an update on what happened in closed, and the update is that there was grievances were discussed, and a bylaw which is being brought forward, which I'm actually going to do right now with regard to funding. So that was 7.1. So, moved by Councillor Horn, seconded by Councillor Keith, that bylaw number 2018-6811, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of an Ontario Community Infrastructure Fund top-up application component agreement between Her Majesty the Queen in right of Ontario, as represented by the Ministry of Agricultural, Food and Rural Affairs, the province, and the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound, the recipient, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Horn, seconded by Councillor Keith, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion. Councillor Borneman.
Does somebody want to explain to the public what we're up to here?
No, we don't.
No? Can't at the moment. Mr. Mann?
Mr. Mayor, it's at least worth noting that there will be a public announcement on this funding soon. Exactly what soon means we don't know yet.
Yeah. We have to wait for the province. Okay. So all in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Okay. Item 8.1, moved by Councillor Marshall, seconded by Councillor Borneman, that upon the recommendation of the Parry Sound Downtown Business Association Board of Directors, Mike Puro be appointed to the Board of Directors to represent the downtown business above and beyond, and that the term of office ends November 30th, 2018, per the term of Parry Sound Council. Discussion? Councillor Borneman?
Just to explain that Mr. Puro has been on the board for a period of time. He's the operator, I'm going to say, at the Cooperators in Parry Sound. Their business is relocating, so it's become necessary for him to represent someone else at this point in time.
Okay. Any further? All in favor? That's carried. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn that Mayor McGarvey be nominated to the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities Executive Committee for the term 2018 to 2020. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. And I need them to sign that.
That's Brad.
Yeah, actually we can just pass it over to them. There's a second page that needs to be signed, please. Okay. Item 9.11, moved by Councillor Marshall, seconded by Councillor McCann. The council requests the municipal members of the Parry Sound Area Planning Board, I'll start again, that council requests the municipal members of the Parry Sound Area Planning Board for a resolution supporting the town's intention to withdraw from the Parry Sound Area Planning Board. Any discussion? Councillor McCann.
I was wondering maybe if Mr. LG could explain a little bit what is happening here, help us to understand what's going on.
Through your worship, the back story to this report is that staff met with all municipal staff in the region, or municipality except for Seguin and the province, the planning board and the secretary treasurer of the planning board. Essentially, the staff level consensus at that meeting was that the town of Parry Sound does not want to be part of the planning board. None of the other staff members could see an issue with that. So to validate that, we're requesting resolutions of support from all the municipalities within the planning board, affirming that, and provided that they send that resolution forward, this will help us, we think, in our discussions with the province.
Thank you.
Okay, anything further on this one? All in favor? And that's carried. Councillor Sonia, if they can't hear me out there, can you let them back in?
Well,
Oh, is there another one? Which one's next?
so Brad's declared for, has he not? Yes, he has.
He has, okay.
And so has Bonnie.
Oh, so they're not on this one too?
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right, okay. I guess we'll leave them out there. Okay. Moved by Councillor McCann, second by Councillor Borneman, that the 2018 staff goal plan summary attached to Schedule A be approved. Discussion? No? All in favor? That's carried. Great work, everybody. Thank you very much. Are they out there?
I'll go look. I just heard a door over there.
Yeah, okay. We'll give them a minute to come back. What's the next one? 922?
That's the addition.
Okay. Oh yeah, so we need Bonnie. Yeah, he declared a conflict on the snowbird ones, yeah. But
Yes, he did, yes. Sorry. But we do need Bonnie.
we do need Bonnie, yeah. Huh?
You stay, we still need you. We're still in timeout.
Yeah, that's right. So the next item is 922, and this is the one that was added to the agenda. Moved by Councillor Borneman and seconded by Councillor McCann, that upon the recommendation of the Snowbirds Air Show Steering Committee, potential surplus funds from the June 13th, 2018 Snowbird Air Show be allocated to the West Parry Sound Health Centre. And I've been told that there needs to be an amendment to this particular one, that foundation needs to be added after health center. So could I have a mover and seconder to add Councillor Marshall and Councillor McCann, that we add foundation? All in favor of adding foundation? It's carried. Okay. Any discussion on the resolution as amended? Councillor Borneman and Councillor Marshall.
I just want to stick up for Mr. Menz. He brought this to our meeting yesterday. His intent had been to put it on the next council meeting. After some conversation, it became clear that we needed to do this sooner rather than later to get sponsorship packages out to the right people as quickly as possible. That's why it's on. It was added late this evening.
That's good. Councillor Marshall?
Yeah, it might be a little premature to ask now, but how's the sponsorship going to this point? We've got another, I think, 3 months until the snowbirds take to the air, so.
Councillor Borneman, do you want to?
Yeah, it is premature to ask. We do have money that the town and Seguin have committed. Mr. Massey, who has been a godsend, I think everyone in the room would agree with that because of his experiences with these people, was reluctant to reach out to a number of people because this question has come up in the past, and he wanted a firm answer to be able to say, you're not going to get your money back, it's going to go here or there or whatever. So I guess I just say that we'll keep council posted as this develops a little further.
Councillor McCann?
And just to add to Councillor Borneman, I think we're working on different types of sponsored packages so that there is an opportunity for a wider degree of the business sector to become involved and to support that. And just speaking on behalf of the Health Center Foundation, there are plenty of worthy charities out there, but we felt that the health center means something to everybody. It's ubiquitous. Everybody has a story about someone who was treated there, whose life was saved or reborn or whatever. So we felt that this was a good cause to go for because we all benefit from the hospital.
Councillor Keith?
Just for clarification, after all matters are wrapped up, whatever those surplus funds were, will that figure be open to the public so they know?
Better be.
Thank you.
Yeah. Councillor McCann?
I'd like to think we would have a full accounting when it's all said and done.
Okay, anything further on this one? No? All in favor? That's carried. Oh, Councillor Borneman?
When the sponsorship package is made available, it will appear on the town website, so local folks who are interested can buy in as they choose.
Can Brad come back in now?
Yeah. I think
Okay.
Keith went together.
Oh, has he? Okay. Thank you, sir. What?
Thank you.
Okay, item 951, moved by Councillor Horn, second by Councillor Keith, that council approve the 2018 Municipal Assistance Program allocations per Schedule A attached. So, we've got Parry Sound Area CB and DC, $2,233. Parry Sound Downtown Business Association, $1,812. The Business Center, Nipissing Parry Sound Incorporated, $1,526 for a total of $5,571, and $479 remains in the budget. 295 McPherson Squadron, $926. Festival of the Sound, $1,247. Parry Sound Area Community Apiary, $750. Parry Sound Saltos Gymnastics Club, $707. Sail Parry Sound, $990, for a total of $4,620, and $330 remains in that budget. Discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Item 10.2.1, moved by Councillor Marshall, second by Councillor Borneman, that bylaw number 2018-6806, being a bylaw to authorize the establishment of the West Parry Sound Joint Election Compliance Audit Committee and to repeal bylaw 2010-5489 be considered read a first time. All in favor? And that is carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? Carried. Moved by Councillor Marshall, second by Councillor Borneman, the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion. Councillor McCann.
Just, I wonder if Ms. Boggs could give us a rundown on what this is about.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. So in 2010, sorry, I got so close. In 2010, the province legislated that every municipality had to have such a compliance committee, and these are set up for complaints that anyone may have on a candidate's expenses during an election, and as well in case of this election for Parry Sound, expenses for third-party advertisers, which is something new, and also questions on the ballot. So somebody who files to be a third-party advertiser to promote the question on the ballot, everybody has to sign up, everybody has to submit expenses. So there's a mechanism that's always been in place, but they've made it a little bit more formal for people to do that. The West Parry Sound municipalities usually work fairly closely together in each election, especially now that most of them are on telephone and internet voting. So we have a lot more in common. We can work on things such as this, where everybody's got, because we've got a joint committee, everyone has the same terms of reference and everybody's on the same page. And this allows us to save a little bit of money. So we decided to just update it per the new municipal legislation, and this is the result.
Great, thank you. Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Okay. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn that subject to the approval of 5 members of council of the township, 5 members of councils of the Township of McKellar, Municipality of McDougall, Township of the Archipelago, Township of Carling, Township of Seguin, Parry Sound Council, appoint the following people to the West Parry Sound Joint Election Compliance Audit Committee for the 2018 to 2022 term of council. Peter Spazinski, Sandy Edington, Larry Simons, Judy Kewen. She's an alternate, or? Okay, all right. Discussion? Councillor McCann?
I'm just curious what the selection criteria was for these individuals.
Well, it's located in the terms of reference. Basically, 3 of the 4 people who I'm recommending were on the previous committee. We've never had any complaints, so the committee's never really been active in any complaint decisions. But Mr. Ed Ewing was on our previous committee, and he contacted me and said perhaps we didn't want his old foginess on the committee any longer, and he gracefully decided to step aside. We actually approached Sandy Edington. Most of us have worked with Sandy. She's got a very good reputation with finance. So we were all in agreement. Did we want to go put this all out for people to review, or did we want to stick with the people we had? And that's what we decided to do. So everyone was in agreement with this. I would like to point out that I know Carling and McKellar have already passed the terms of reference. Most of them have opted to wait until everybody's passed them before they appoint someone. I just put this pending everyone else's approval, so that'll just kick in when everyone's done that. And that's it.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Moved by Councillor McCann, seconded by Councillor Marshall, that bylaw number 2018-6807, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a letter of agreement between Her Majesty the Queen and right of the Province of Ontario as represented by the Minister of Transportation and the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound under the dedicated gas tax funds for the public transportation program be considered as read a first time. All in favor? It's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings. It's carried. Moved by Counselor Marshall and seconded by Counselor McCann that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Any discussion? All in favor? And that's carried. Money in the bank. Okay. Moved by Counselor Keith and seconded by Counselor Horn that bylaw number 2018-6808, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a memorandum of understanding between Parks and Recreation Ontario on behalf of Playworks and the Corporation of the Town of Parry Sound under the Youth Action Advisory Council Development Project, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? It's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith and seconded by Councillor Horn that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion. Councillor Horn.
Thank you. Since Mr. Wheeler has been here all night waiting to discuss this memorandum of understanding between us and Parks and Recreation Ontario, I just wonder if he could explain to the public what this is about. Thanks.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yep. Thank you, Councillor Horn. Yeah, I'd be happy to. So what this is further to Council's strategic direction to deliver programming in town. This opportunity came to staff where we could apply for grant funding as well as the expertise and mentorship to create a youth advisory council. Now what that is a collection of youth facilitated by the town between the ages of 13 and 19 that can analyze and brainstorm ideas such as activities, events, and programs that we can engage people of that age group in town. It's an age group that we really want to engage in town and that we really want to get on board and give them reason to be enthusiastic in our community.
Good. Anything further? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Moved by Councillor Borneman and seconded by Councillor Marshall that bylaw number 2018-6809, being a bylaw to authorize the execution of a funding agreement with the Department of Canada, Canadian Heritage, Cultural Spaces Canada for the Stocky Centre roof and siding renovations, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? That's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? It's carried. Moved by Councillor Borneman, seconded by Councillor Marshall, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. Discussion. Councillor Keith.
Maybe Ms. Middaugh can just explain what is happening here, as this has been certainly a topic of conversation for some time. Thank you.
Ms. Middaugh.
Dear Mr. Mayor, the item that's before you tonight is a funding agreement from the Department of Canadian Heritage. It relates to the roofing and siding project at the Stocky Centre. So we made application and the application was approved, and the town will be receiving $580,000 to go towards the $1.22 million spend for the roofing and siding. And the project has started. It started a week ago, and if you've been to the Stocky Centre, you'll see that the siding has been all ripped off the far end of the building, and they're well underway. So they have some tight deadlines.
Yeah, that's great. Councillor Marshall.
Just, I was down last week and I did see the construction start. So when's it all going to finish up? Are we going to have this done, say, before the festival starts this summer?
Ms. Middaugh.
Dear Mr. Mayor, our deadline and the schedule that's been put together with staff, engineers, and the contractor is to have it completed the first week of June, prior to the Bobby Orr Hall of Fame Youth Achievement event.
Good. That's good. Okay. That's right. Anything further? Councillor Hart.
I'd just like to say thanks to Lynn's staff for securing, $500,000 for the Stocky Centre, and great job in the application, and certainly well-deserved credit on your part for doing that. So thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Anything else? All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Should also mention at this time, with regard to the Stocky Center, a thank you to Seguin Township. They made a donation of $10,000 to the Stocky Center. So, moved by Councillor Keith, second by Councillor Horn, that bylaw number 2018-6810, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council, be considered as read a first time. All in favor? And that's carried. All members in favor of having the second and third readings? That's carried. Moved by Councillor Keith, second by Councillor Horn, that the bylaw above mentioned be considered as read a second and third time, passed, signed, and sealed. All in favor? And that is carried. Prior to adjourning, I'd like to offer the following information to the public regarding the next meeting. The next regular meeting of council for the town of Parry Sound is scheduled to take place at 52 Seguin Street in the council chambers located on the top floor. Public access to the building is off Gibson Street. The next regular meeting of council is Tuesday, March 20th, 2018 at 7 p.m. All regular council meetings are held at 7 p.m. on the first and third Tuesday of each month, except January and August, where only one regular meeting is scheduled. Regular and special meetings are now live streamed. Please check news and public notices on our website at www.parrysound.ca for instructions to watch live or see earlier council meetings. Agendas, changes to the council meeting schedule, and notices of special council meetings will be posted on the town's website at www.parrysound.ca under News and Public Notices prior to a council meeting. The public is able to view an electronic copy of the complete agenda with attachments on the town's website. Just search Council Calendar and the date of the meeting. Should you wish to receive a combined agenda via email, you may make that request on our website or contact the clerk at the municipal office. The minutes of the council meetings will be posted within 2 days after the council meeting on the town's website and on the bulletin board located in the municipal office entrance. Your TV, formerly known as Cogeco, will continue to air the regular Parry Sound Council meetings on Wednesday at 9 p.m. and Saturday at 9:30 a.m. following a regular council meeting. For your TV listings, contact www.tvlistingscogeco.ca until further notice. Thank you, everyone, and have a good night.